The climate crusaders strike again. This time, they are deflating your tires and bragging about it. The eco-warriors known as the tire extinguishers are moving across the U.S. In June, they targeted dozens of SUVs in New York City, sneakily letting the air out of tires. And their deflating tour is picking up speed. They're hitting other cities like San Francisco, Chicago, even Scranton, Pennsylvania. And the tire extinguishers also leave behind pamphlets on the windshields of the cars that they vandalize, reading in part, "Attention, your gas guzzler kills. We have deflated one or more of your tires. You'll be angry, but don't take it personally. It's not you, it's your car. This is a machine that destroys life with terrifying efficiency." So, Kaylee, they should also not take it personally when they're prosecuted for vandalism.
Exactly. The tire extinguishers. These guys are like the crazy Ruth sent us, Jane's Revenge protesters in tire form. And I brought you their rhetoric. They haven't quite gone as far as Jane's Revenge, which was to cut people. But they have said this: it can happen anywhere, anytime. If you're reading this and you own an SUV, scrap it before we get it. They said if you own a hybrid car, not good enough. You own an energy-efficient car, electric car, not good enough. And they said they encourage people to go to affluent neighborhoods. However, it is an emergency. And they said the minor inconvenience of having your tires slashed is outweighed by what is at hand. Tell that again to a working class voter during sky-high inflation. It's just a minor inconvenience. We'll slash your tire because we're nuts.
Harris, I'm struck by, remember we watched that footage of the climate protesters blocking a freeway, and there was a parolee trying to get through.
I thought about you.
Yeah, and he said, if I don't get to my parole here, and if I don't get to work, I will be put back in jail. So to Kaylee's point, a minor inconvenience, really? What if I have a medical emergency?
Well, that's
what if
what
I have to get to work because I'm a parolee? There are so many exceptions.
Yeah. I thought about you, Emily, because you made such a good defense. You have worked in criminal law, so you know you got to get to where you got to go if you've got parole issues. What if you are sick? What if you're having chest pains? What if something's going on with your child in the back seat and you need to go someplace? Gosh, I sound like Kamala Harris today.
No, you don't. You never do.
I think I do. I think I caught it from her. I think I got the get to go. But you know, you got to put your child in the back seat, in the car seat, and you realize you look down, your tire's slashed. How are you going to take that child for care? I mean, there are just so many scenarios that these people are not considering outside of their own. And this is about feelings. Because if they really felt strongly enough to use their words and debate their issues and where they feel, that would put them in a different category and they wouldn't be on the streets on their knees slicing tires.
Do you think they've tried to do that?
Oh, I don't know. I don't hang out with a lot of tire slashers.
I guess. Fair. I do want to hear David's PETA story, though.
All right. I think it was back in the mid-'90s. There was a PETA, you know what PETA was throwing red paint on leather?
Yeah.
So guy came up to me. I was going to a charity event in New York, had a little container of red paint. So I just looked at him and said, yep, you're going to get the paint on my jacket, but I have a question for you. Can you outrun me?
Oh, and
he walked away. But you know, when you look at what they're doing, and they're going to these neighbors, by the way, people have cameras on their homes that look to their cars if they're outside.
You couldn't even see their faces, though. They were masked up, you know, which, I mean, it's the COVID era.
Yeah. Look, this is going to go wrong. One of them is going to run into the wrong person with an emergency. Look, I've had to drive my wife, who you know, to an emergency room. Now, imagine if I have to do that and I go out and the tire's down.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I appreciate everyone's concern about people getting to places in an emergency, but I don't want to distract from the actual point that they're trying to make here.
Is this peaceful protesting?
Is that this would probably not fall under civil disobedience, is my understanding, but I'm not a scholar exactly on where the line is. But I do want to point out that there has been protesting. There has been a tremendous amount of effort from youth, primarily worldwide, who have called attention to the climate crisis, which often gets denied, sadly, on this network. And to your point about the can and the leather and the you're the faster runner, I'm sure that's fact. But the idea that we have a different relationship with fur today. Thank you, PETA, in the 80s. Not to say that I'm not wearing leather on my shoes, but I just want to point out.
I bought it. It's my property, and you don't get to damage it, and nor would I damage your property ever in disagreement.
I think it's really important that we make sure that we keep this specific conversation on the climate crisis that we're facing.
But when we talk about civil
producing batteries with fossil fuel for hybrid cars.
Yes, I can talk about that in great depth, David.
How do you dispose of the elements of a battery? Okay, you really want to have a conversation on the environment. I am willing to have it.
Let's talk about the naked bike riders and the gluing to the Van Gogh painting.
Oh, God, really?
I mean, it's getting attention. It's getting attention. We're talking about the climate crisis here.
Because part of the problem, too, with something that is damaging enough and sharp enough to slash a tire is that it can do other types of damage. And what we know is that if you sneak up on somebody because it's your vehicle and you want to know what they're doing, you can't in that moment telegraph what's going to happen. This, to me, is one of those things that can be a gateway to something that was unintended. And I just think you don't start none, there won't be none. And I can't figure out why people can't use their words. And you can march in the street peacefully. And it's like I said, 2020, after the death of George Floyd, Martin Luther King Jr. did not march at 3 a.m., and he didn't burn anything down. And there's a way to get your point across without damaging other people's things with sharp objects in your hand.
I agree, and without putting people in danger.
If they aren't so embarrassed about getting caught, they'll take off those things.
I've been
and
in
let
scenarios
us see
where I couldn't get my
That's a
child
great
help.
point.
I've been there, but we have to make sure that they are not getting the attention. People
they're
get
getting
radical.
attention.
They're not getting the
I just
attention
want them
on
to
the
get some
subjects
legal
that they think they need, and so they'll get more.
So it's okay to
scarier.
advance the crime if you're not getting attention.
I'm not endorsing a crime, David. Don't put that on me.
I mean, I will just say respectfully, I think that the topic wasn't about climate crisis. It was about the vandalism that those activists are engaging in, that it's not civil disobedience. It's not calling their rep or advocating for a local
Which hasn't really worked to
elective people. But how do we know if they, I mean, has every person that has extinguished the tire
I mean, if you're not getting the attention, you got a president who
I
purportedly
am
agrees
certainly
with you.
disappointed in how Biden has handled the climate crisis.
Well, then I'm not parking near you. I'm kidding.
Just write hybrid.
I'm just going to write, I'm green, I swear. I recycle.
And just to be clear, they were extinguishing the air out of tires. They weren't slashing them, yes. But, you know, David, to your point, I drive the irony is, so I drive a 70.
I run flat tires, by the way. Good luck with that one.